Hi there, and welcome to Coastal 101. I'm John Kelly, your host. Today, we're going to talk about saddling your horse, and with us is Miranda, our horse expert from Coastal. Miranda, it's great to have you here.
Hi, John. Great to be here.
So, what are some of the things that we need to think about, maybe even before we saddle a horse?
First, I would say is some safety things. As you're working with a horse, obviously you want them to know where you're at, so we'll kind of walk around the horse and just make sure that she's aware of where we're at by just some pets, and so we're not going to throw her off when we're throwing a saddle up on her. We're going to talk a little bit about trees and fitting that. We're going to set the saddle on her first without a saddle pad so that we can kind of see how it's going to sit on her, and then we'll take the saddle off, we'll put the pad on, we'll put the saddle back up there, we'll cinch it up and be good to go.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Okay, well, let's get started.
All right.
Okay.
So today we're going to use a Western saddle. This is a semi-quarter. There is Arab trees, there are the full quarters. This is going to fit the majority of your horses, being that in between. The full quarter is a little wider, the Arab's a little narrower. When we set it up there, we're going to make sure that it doesn't pinch the withers in here so that it sits evenly. And then we're going to make sure also that it's not so long that it hits the back side of her as well and restricts motion. So a little bit of safety, we're going to make sure that the cinches are in place, and then I'm going to grab the stirrup and put it up over the horn, and then we'll set it on her. So the first thing we want to talk about is just in general placement. You can kind of see where it's sitting here. You don't want it too far back. Obviously it's going to fit and it's going to pinch your shoulder blades and your withers, obviously. You don't want it too far forward. There's a pretty natural slope to the horse, so you can kind of find kind of that niche, and it sits pretty balanced right there. We talked a little bit before about this being a semi-quarter, so it fits pretty good there, and there's quite a bit of room so that we're not pinching the withers. There's the full quarter, which is going to be a bit wider, so on a horse like her, it could sit down like this, and a lot of times you might have where this is going to sit right on the withers, and you don't want that either. A little narrower tree would be an Arab tree, which would sit more up, which doesn't do you any good either. So this is kind of a good balancing fit, and you can kind of run your hands along so you don't feel any pinching, kind of like I said before, so that would be a little more of the pinching. So it sits pretty evenly and pretty balanced. Along with back here, it's not sitting too far back. The saddle fits pretty good with her length of the back, and again, everything is sitting pretty flush and pretty balanced. So we're going to talk a little bit too about pad placement, which is very important. Mm-hmm. You don't want the pad flush with this. You want some room, but you also want some room back here so that the saddle isn't sitting on the horse. Making sure that your pad is long enough so that it goes beyond the saddle again, so that when you're sitting down there and you got the pressure, that it also is going to protect the horse as well. And then we also want to make sure there's room so that it's sitting just right. So right there. Good fit, and it's long enough to here so that there's pads, so that when everything is cinched down tight, there's room and there's protection from the horse, and it's going to be balanced. And we'll go to cinching.
tight are you actually doing that?
Tight enough that it's gonna stay there, but not too tight as to keep them from being able to breathe and to move. Obviously, where this is placed, she's got good shoulder movement so that she's not restricted and it's not too far forward cutting into her.
Is there a way to know that by sticking your fingers in? Or
Yeah,
just
I
something?
mean, you can kind of get an idea. I mean, if you are jabbing your fingers in there and it's tight, obviously
Okay.
you're probably too tight. And then again, too, once you get the horse moving, sometimes some horses like to hold their breath. So
Okay.
then once you
Right.
get them moving,
That gets real
yeah,
loose.
it gets
Okay.
real loose. So you'll
Okay.
probably want to check this again before you actually get on. And we're gonna get this safely out of the way. Do the back cinch. Again, back cinch. Never want it too tight because that could be a wild ride. Then other than that, there's a lot of ways to get to this point, but this is definitely one of a better practice. But safely put the stirrup down, and you should be good to go.
So you ready to ride?
Ready to ride.
Okay, you ready? Okay, Miranda, you've made this so easy. Thanks
Thanks,
so
John.
much. We'll see y'all later now. Okay, so this way or this way? Coastal has a full line of saddles for your riding pleasure. And remember, Coastal is here for all your equine needs.